Welcome to Punditviews for the night, for Monday night. And last week we had a wonderful show with George Eichhorn, but tonight a little different. We have another great show. This is one of my bigger guests. He's from the Geary, Stevens and Stein show on the Sirius XM radio. Troy Geary, welcome.
Nice to be with you tonight, Jacob.
Yeah, it's very good, very good. That's the one big thing about it is the fact that I've had a couple of nice guests and everything, but a lot of them's been sideline. But other than George was one of the bigger ones. I had one from Andrew Petcash, from the business side of the thing. So that was one of my bigger. So I definitely appreciate this. It's great to be able to build something here.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
No problem. Now tell me, where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Minnesota.
Minnesota? Yeah. Like you talk about St. Paul, Minneapolis?
No, much farther north, Duluth, Minnesota. If you look at the state of Minnesota, where Lake Superior meets Minnesota, that's Duluth.
So you're near Canada, the Canadian line?
It's about a couple hours away, but yeah, pretty close.
Yeah. So how big were you into hockey?
Minnesota is a big hockey state. So like I said, I like just about any sport. If in order to live here, you have to like hockey too. So that's on the list.
Well, I got into it late myself, but I became a Blues guy. And, and then I played a little bit of hockey where I was, but it was just rec stuff. You know what I'm saying? I played about 3 years.
Yeah.
How long did you get to play?
I didn't play any high school or anything like that. But, of course, you still go out and, grab the skates. And I still do that every year. Go out and play, pick up games. There's a lot of rec leagues around here. And also another thing that's kind of popular up here is called broomball, which is basically you're with you don't have skates, you run around down with boots and you hit a ball with a broom. So,
well, here's the thing about Minnesota, you get a lot of the old school. Remember they talked about how they used to play on ice, when they were kids and everything. The old Gretzky era and everything. That's one of the times where they still can do that. It gets pretty cold up there.
There's still outdoor rinks everywhere. Even if it's 20 below, you'll find people out there just skating around, hitting the puck around. So weather does not hinder that up here.
Well, I tell people all the time, it's like they'll say, oh, the kids aren't what they used to be. I mean, it just depends on where you're at. Like you go through the Midwest, you go to where you're talking about, you go in these farm areas, they're pretty much the same. The main thing is they're not marketed.
Yeah, I mean, like Bud Grant would say, he just passed away, and he was always a fan of it's just all mental. So he would go out, wear a T-shirt in 20 below weather, coaching football games, and I'm just like, wow.
Well, he did it at 89 years old.
Yeah. To me, it's a little bit more than mental, but to him, it was just all in your mind. So.
Well, you got to realize he was a small guy, but he used to do all that hunting in the winter. So he was just an old school.
Yeah.
Bud Grant was. But well, one of the things, like I said, though, to me, it's all marketing. Like the Family Hour used to be in TV, and then people will say, "Oh, the kids aren't what they used to be." You hear that online all the time. Like I said, go up to Minnesota, go into most of the Midwest, the farm areas. The kids are pretty much the same. It's just, you just don't hear about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all based on where you're at. I mean, like I said, I grew up in this kind of weather, so somebody from Florida would come up here and freeze. It's just different, I guess, upbringings and all that fun stuff. So.
Oh, absolutely. So what did you do in high school? What sports did you play? What did you end up doing?
I played baseball, football, and did a basketball for a couple years, but I switched mostly to football in the fall, baseball in the spring.
Oh, okay. So you just decided to. As like I said, I played six. See what I say? I played 6 sports, but it was like nothing. Only one in high school, like for a freshman year, like tennis. That sort. But yeah. It's one of those. But I would say my best was baseball.
That was my best sport too, because I'm a little on the shorter side. So, baseball was my best sport growing up, and now it's if I had to pick one, I guess I probably would lean towards baseball. I mean, football is really close second. So, but having a baseball background and playing, so that's kind of gives it the edge there.
I was one of those rare ones that did not carry one to the right field, because I remember when you were a kid, they put the right fielder out there, it's death. because most kids can't hit that far, and if they do, it's an almost automatic home run. Well, I was one of the rare ones that could throw home. So I could throw home, so I could hold the thing. So I didn't. And plus, Andre Dawson was my hero, so I wanted to do that anyway.
Yeah, and you really didn't see a lot of left-handed batters even in back 15, 20 years ago. Now there's a little bit more left-handed players, but yeah, like you said, that right fielder usually didn't get any action.
Well, that was dead. But here's the thing: back in our time, I mean, look at us with the gray hair and all that stuff. But we're talking back in our time. We're talking like our parents now. Back in our time, though, the Catholic nuns used to smack the kids on the wrist for going for left. Trying to do left-handed, trying to make them right-handed.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that was about, but that was the truth. So you played. So you went through high school. Did you play any in college?
I did. I did play a year and a half at Michigan State University, and then an injury kind of ended that. But I still stuck with baseball further down the line.
Well, my sister went to Michigan State back in '79.
Oh, sweet.
78, 79. She was, and she was in a couple of one or two Magic Johnson's classes, so which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, I can imagine what those. I'm just saying that kind of stories had to be interesting. Especially, the biggest thing about it though is it's like I can just say that my family goes a long way back. I can absolutely say that I have a great grandpa that died in '36.
Wow, that's impressive.
So it goes back. So, what did you study at Michigan State?
Actually, I wanted to become a forensic psychologist, which is Michigan State is known for their psychological or psych department, and that's the main reason I wanted to go there. And then once I realized it would take probably 10, 11 years of school, and after 4, I was just like, oh man, do I really want to keep going, or do I need to find a regular job? And yeah, I mean, after I got my degree, I thought, yeah, I don't really want to do another 6, 7 years of school. So, yeah.
What was your degree in?
Psychology.
Oh, okay. So you got that. So as far as all that, you said you got into psychology and everything like that. How did you get into the sports world? All the stuff that you did starting from then. How did you get into all that?
So my wife, I met in college. She was from Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay.
And after college, I was looking for jobs. She wanted to move back to Missouri because her mom at the time was not doing well health-wise. So I was like, all right, let's move back. Took intern job with the Royals. Started, 2011. By 2013, I went from intern to assistant to the general manager. Worked that job for about 3 years, 2016. They had some changes going on, some stuff going on. And I decided, you know what, I kind of wanted to come back home and figure out something else to do. So
assistant to the general manager. So you were Dwight Schrute.
Yeah, basically, I would give him scouting reports. I mean, I guess if you really wanted his coffee, it was everything from doing all the stuff that he couldn't really do because there's so much that goes into that job. So yeah, just a wide gamut of different things, but it was a great time. I enjoyed my time there, and I hopefully get back into it someday and eventually become a general manager. That would be my main goal. I mean, but we'll see what happens.
Now, answer this, since you've been through this world. You said assistant to the general manager. What would be the difference between assistant to the general manager and an assistant general manager as far as the jobs, the variety of jobs, the variety of deals that you have to deal with?
Well, the assistant general manager still does the traveling, still does the scouting, still does basically in charge of all the minor leagues. That's basically his job. And then he gives, his input to the GM when there's decisions need to be made. Somebody's on the DL, contracts. What I was basically doing is I would give him all the information as well, just on a different level. This is how much you have in salary cap this year. This guy has clauses in his contract. So all those little things that you don't really think of that they need to know. Basically, I had to figure out and let him know so he can make sound decisions.
Well, and I'll give you this, for instance. I have a format idea that I'm going to do starting next week with a guest. He's actually a fan. I'll give you this. I'll tell you what the format of this show is. And this still going to be Punditviews, but I'm going to put an idea for a show. I'm calling it Cap Heaven or Cap Hell. And the idea would be, because you get a lot of these people, and this kid I actually like. I think he would actually be halfway decent, but you get so many of these Twitter GMs all over the place. And the idea of it is, I was telling him, okay, we'll get you let's just say tomorrow you wake up and you're the GM of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I told him, put the 2022 the roster on one side, and on the other 53 spaces empty. That has to account for the draft, for everything, including his stuff, and what you would do, into the training camp. And then go to Sport Track and then all that kind of stuff like that and figure out the cap. I was telling him that kind of thing, and we're going to work on that next week.
Yeah, that would take a long time to do it from scratch, but there's a lot of work.
It's just I'm just saying, it's just bullet points. It's the thing. It's going to go from that deal, but I'm just giving it the idea. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, that's great idea.
Oh yeah,
it would be a fun show.
Oh yeah, and we'll see. And the biggest thing is, it's like, I would love to be able to get that, because you see, I wanted you on tonight because I wanted to be able to give the idea to fans, to people that would watch. I'm not a big fan of the fans of today. I'm not. I admit it. You've heard this from the earlier. It's just because we have so much out there, so much footprint on the internet world, that people think that they can be famous. They think they could do this. They think they can go into the war room.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot more than that. I mean, as you know, I see those Twitter GMs all the time, or even now players are starting to become Twitter GMs of recruiting people and, play with us, you know what I'm talking about. So,
yeah. Now, okay, what is the thing? Okay, to the Twitter GMs, since you've been in that front office, to the Twitter GMs, what are the things when you see some of the goofiness that they might talk about? Let's go get, we're $60 million behind. Let's go get Derrick Henry. You know what I'm saying? That kind of deal.
Yeah.
What do you think are the main things that, would you say nuance or whatever? What do you think are the main things that they're missing? The ideas that they're missing with some of their things. Are they missing nuance? Are they just missing the rules? Do you think they don't know anything? What do you think?
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, if you're 60 million in the hole, I mean, you got to get rid of probably 4 or 5 guys to add one. So, and then you have the dead cap space. You have all these other things that you have to think about that will affect teams in the long run. Yeah, you might be able to cut a guy, but if you have 12 million in dead cap, go over next year and then another 20 for this guy, before you know it, you're taking away from future years and basically handicapping yourself. So a lot of fans don't understand that. They don't understand what the dead cap is.
So explain the dead cap.
What's that?
Explain the dead cap.
So the dead cap is if somebody, say the guy had $25 million for 2 more years, but if we cut him tomorrow, we'll have 10 million dead cap. It means that 10 cap still stays on your salary for the next year. Now you might get some reprieve of say 10, 12 million this year, but now that 10 million, whether he's on your team or not, next year still counts against your salary cap.
So Ken Jr., Bobby Bonilla are definitely dead cap.
Oh yeah, those guys they had great agents and they figured out how to defer money, and I think Bonilla is still getting paid. So I mean that was just a great idea by his agent.
So now, question on this: now you can explain this to the people? I know this, of course. What happened? So explain to the people, how in the world did that happen? How did they do that with that? With his salary to be able to defer that much? How did they pull that off?
I mean, I guess in your contract, you can defer. It's usually players don't like deferred payments because they want to get paid today. And obviously Bonilla thought, great, I'll be, 50, 60 years old and still getting paid. He probably thought he was going to get another contract at some point. And realized, I'll do this now. And then if say the Mets offer something different, we'll rip this one up and get another one. But obviously he thought in the long term, and as the team doing it, I mean, they thought, oh, okay, this is not a big deal because, we can still save cap here, and this $1 million or $1.5 million he gets every July or whatever it is, not a lot of money for us. So at the time, the team thinks, okay, well, this is the better option. And then once they realize that they're paying this guy 25 years later, that's when you got those Twitter GMs like, what were they doing? It's really all about instant gratification in sports, as everybody knows. It's about what can I get now from you? How much money I can save now? They don't really look at the long term. A lot of GMs, a lot of players, they just want everything today, guaranteed money. That's another topic with Lamar Jackson. He could get hurt tomorrow, so he wants all his money today. And baseball is a little different. You have some injuries, but obviously Bonilla figured it out. The Mets at the time, whatever, they didn't really care about the long term. But as you sit back and look at it, it was a terrible deal.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, here's what the shocking part is. Knowing the stories of Patrick Mahomes and how many entities and how many assets he's got now. He's got a partial ownership in the NWSL the team, and he's got a bunch of different assets. As I actually talked about this with Andrew Petcash. He's got all these. And then you talked about ones like LeBron James. You talk about Kevin Durant. Would someone like them ever get deferred money of any type whatsoever, knowing what they would do with their investments in the first place? Or would they get it all?
No, I don't think they would ever get deferred money. I mean, it had to be some sort of really dire situation for the team to be in. Most of those guys, like I said, the bigger the name, the bigger they want the money today, and then they want to decide what they're going to do with it. So I wouldn't see LeBron taking a deferred contract.
Right.
Even if he's going to retire in a couple of years, even if it was his last year, I don't think him doing that.
Well, I could see that because he's near a billionaire, but I was getting that. But I'm just giving the idea of, like, what if, okay, let's say Austin Reeves, hypothetically. It's like, what's it to hurt him unless he's not making a whole lot right now and the taxes are just brutal in Los Angeles? What's to hurt that? But what's the hurt to be able to do a deferred contract like that? Do you think that after the whole deal with Ken Griffey Jr. and Bobby Bonilla that they're not going to do that? These GMs are not going to do that anymore?
No, I mean, you'll still see some, but I mean, the extent of how much deferred is not going to be a lot. Like I said, you won't see a $40-50 million balloon deferred payment. It may be $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. So for a guy like Austin Reeves, journeyman, you make as much money as you can. If you get some deferred money, I mean, that's great. But you won't see a star take a deferred contract, I don't think.
So you've been through all kinds of, let's see here. You've played sports. You've been in the front office. Now let's talk about officiating. You've been a referee.
Yeah, I've always liked all aspects of sports. 2 years ago, I decided I reffed a long time ago, right after college. A lot of high school, middle school, freshman games. And then I had kids, so I thought, when they got a little older, I was going to get back into it. So a couple years ago, I got back in here locally, doing high school games, Division III game, local teams here. And then I got rated pretty high of scoring, so I got offers from Conference USA, which I'm going to be doing in the fall.
Nice.
I'm going to be reffing, not ref, probably umpire, sounds like. And then, I just about a month ago, I got an email from a guy that's been going to Ireland for 30 years of bringing a team over there from United States, mostly college-age kids. And they have some teams in Europe and Ireland. And they call what is called Ireland Bowl, where they go out there, they teach them how to learn the game, basically. and I got asked to ref in that. So
Nice.
I also got asked to teach the Ireland people and some European officials the rules of the game so they can expand that over there. I mean, the only football you hear about in Europe really is soccer, as we call it. And they're trying to, learn the American game so they can expand over there. So that's great. So I'm all for going over there and teaching, these guys, the rules of the game. And end of the week, we'll have a football game and I'll ref that.
Well, I noticed that you said Irish people, and it's like we have to remember we can kind of joke at first about saying, a little bit political correctness, but it's not really political correctness anymore because it is Irish people. And it's not Irishmen anymore because there's women that do this. There's women that do.
Yeah, I mean, sorry if I said that, but yeah, anybody can do that. But yeah, just expanding the game is the main goal here, and I'm happy to do my part.
No, I wasn't saying for you to sorry. I was like, it is true now. It is Irish people. It's like they used to have Aces, the place for helpful hardware man. Now it's the helpful hardware people or a person, because women do this stuff now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, if speaking about women, if you'll look at this weekend, the Final Four, that was exciting to watch. And the game kind of rejuvenated overnight in the attention it got. So there's a lot of women in sports now, front office, coaches, refs. So that's good for the game.
Well, one of the things is speaking of that Iowa South Carolina game and Iowa LSU. Unfortunately, Iowa and LSU had you're a ref. So do you think that there was something underhanded in that game? You think they're just bad refs?
What my take of watching the game is they called everything, every little contact, and for a national championship game, that should not happen. I mean, if it was a regular season game, but you got to let them play, and that's especially on that stage. National championship game, biggest stage, for them all season long. You got to let them play, and having seen star players on both teams have to sit on the bench, and momentum change like that is unfortunate. I mean, kudos to LSU. They had a good game plan. They made a lot of good shots, but that game changed probably third quarter, about 2 minutes in, because of calls that were not really fouls. So it's unfortunate, like I said, but kudos to LSU for winning the game.
So you think that you were saying they call every little thing. Is that an ego thing, or is that just how a specific place they might, that is a specific place that they might do it themselves, or are they angry? Is that what is?
I think it could be a little bit of both. I think it's nervousness. I mean, you're on a big stage. You don't want to blow a call. So they're just calling everything, and before you know it, it gets a little out of hand, and then you're like, oh, geez, I shouldn't have called that. Well. No, it's 1 minute left of the game, and you realize, I made some bad decisions. So, and then there's some that just want to be the person in front of the TV, signaling a foul and, pointing the other direction. If you look at that game, LSU coach, Kim Mulkey, she made contact with the official not once but twice, like grabbing her. Now, didn't get called, but then Iowa's player, Caitlin Clark, kind of threw the ball behind her back to the ref who was standing there, and they called a technical foul. Even though the ball did not go away from the ref, she picked it up. So that kind of stuff, if you're going to call games, you got to call them evenly across the board. You can't let a coach just kind of manhandle a ref and then not say anything, not even call anything.
Well, something that we talk about this. Okay, now before we go into that part, you said that you got highly rated. How do you get rated as a referee, and is it how good or bad? How did they do this?
Well, each state, if you're doing high school, they have at the end of the season, of course, they have playoffs and championships. So in order to be selected for those, they have a official representative from the state come out and watch people ref, each game, and they look at what you called, what you didn't call, if you made a right decision, All that stuff goes into it. Excuse me. And yeah, so they deem my performance, pretty good, for not missing anything, calling things right. Um, there's like 10 different things they look at, and I scored high in all of them. So
So,
that's what you want.
so yeah, absolutely. If that's the case, when you get refs like this, okay, how does the Tim Donaghy keep going around? Like after all of that, how did they make it? How did they make it through? Is it politics?
I think it's a little bit of both politics and, he's been around. So it's like, do we really want to mess with that? And also they're really hurting for refs all across the board, whether it's middle school to high school to college. Not a lot of people want to do it, unfortunately. And so
parents,
yeah. So, yeah. And that's another thing that, at the lower levels, you got parents screaming at you, like I had a parent last season, holler down, like, "What are you blind?" It was her son was called for holding.
Yeah.
He grabbed the guy, threw him down. Of course, she says, "That's not holding." Like, and then the coaches are like, every time he, this guy number 90, whatever, he keeps holding. I'm like, you just want to bite your tongue, but you're like, really want to say, hey, this is, that's, you don't know the game. That's not correct. But so that gets where a lot of people, where they just get tired of hearing that. So that's another reason why they're short refs, because of parent involvement, and coaches belittling people, and so yeah. It's a big issue, that you don't really hear about. Every year they're scrambling to find people. So.
Well, we had a discussion tonight on our little spot, if you will, about, we were talking about, like we talked about with Anthony Rendon, and he's getting suspended for 5 games because you get a wannabe tough guy fan, and then he kind of showed him that his hands are about this large, and he's going to take him by the neck, and he could show he did what Rendon did was better than actually hitting him, because he's showing that he could have just caved him.
Yeah,
because that Rendon is. I'll give you an example. We talk about wrestling a little bit. You see a picture. There was a video of Shawn Michaels doing a treadmill years ago at one of the WrestleManias, like 11 something like that. He was probably 195. Chest is out here. His chest is out here. He's 195, and it's like people don't have an understanding just how big these guys are as human beings. I actually had Kevin Butler's 1985 ring, his Super Bowl ring on. I met him, get to wear the ring. His ring's here. He's a kicker.
Wow.
He's a kicker, and his ring is right there. My hand's small for a big guy. So I'm like, these fans that keep yelling and getting alcohol in them and stuff like that, what Rendon did, he lost 5 games. I'm glad he did something like that, because that's a very strong man.
Yeah, like I said, fans, they think they could just, they paid for a seat. I can say whatever I want. You're making millions of dollars, get over it. Well, the only one that's actually out of money here is Rendon. That's 5 games. That's probably some good chunk of money that he's out, and that fan just goes home and comes back the next game and does the same thing. So that's another topic, how fan interaction is kind of crossed the line, I think, in some sort. You've seen certain circumstances where they throw the person out, or, or a player tries to, go after a fan. But yeah, Rendon, I'm glad he didn't hit the guy. He tried to swipe at him, but, it's just as a athlete, I think that would be really hard day in, day out, hearing stuff. And, where Rendon, there's probably a lot more frustration because, he's been injured the last year and a half. He hasn't been hitting very well, and I think he was hitless in that game. So even though he called him a phrase that I won't repeat, and I don't think it was, a big deal, I can see that frustration, I guess, finally boiling over where he did that. So
Well, I'm glad like I said though, I'm glad he didn't hit him even. I'm glad he just did this little swing. Because you have to understand, you've seen me. I despise this era of fans, especially my Bears fans. I've said that how many times?
yeah.
I despise them, and maybe it's because of the internet world. I have not said every year because we know fans are fans in every year, no matter what. Dallas Cowboys, right at the beginning of Tom Landry, were saying that they need to clean house and get new ownership. I mean, this is what Tom Landry. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, because this was before he was the king of Dallas, and this is before he became all the winner. Fans will do that. See, they've always done that, but maybe it's because of the internet. And they're out there so much, and they talk much more. And it's like they're an expert in nothing. But they're expert in nothing. And the idea that that they think that football or baseball or anything is as easy as the fantasy game or the video games.
Yeah, I think social media, I know like we both kind of have this opinion, has kind of ruined a lot of things. And people think they're entitled, and like I said, with fans saying stuff, whatever, and they're, like we talked about earlier, amateur GMs and all that stuff. But, I think it needs to take some sort of like social media domino to fall where we can go back to where people just played the game and you just went there to watch them,
I liked one of the great marketing things I really liked is when Parkey missed that 43-yarder, bang, bang. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See the double doink, but I didn't predict he would miss it just because I saw his doubt in his eyes and the way he was talking. It's like that's something Robbie Gould's not going to have, his doubt. And
speaking of Robbie Gould, they should bring him back, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. But I was like, see, I knew the doubt, so I had an idea. I didn't get double doink, but I had an idea. I was walking out in the middle of the kick. I literally was walking. I looked up at the thing. I saw it toward the bar, and I heard the second dong going out the door.
Oh, man.
So everybody, and then the rest of the thing I heard was people breaking glasses. And, because it was at a bar, and they were just horribly agitated. And I was like, I was telling Frenzy Four that I think he's going to miss this. But one of the great marketing things that I really liked and what they did was they set up a thing it was during a cold winter, and they set up the bar, like a field goal thing for 43 yards and like $5,000 to the winner who can kick it, and no one came close.
Of course.
And it was the fans. But it's like, despite all that, despite everything, those people, there's going to be some of those people probably did that kick. And yet those same people forget about it 2 days later and go to pretend they can do it again. And it's like, it just feels like that their brain freezes, that they don't realize that these are professionals for a reason.
Yeah, everybody, like I said, I've known kicking woes being here in Minnesota. We've had some kickers that, in big time situations have missed 19-year-old field goals and stuff like that.
Blair.
And yeah, the outrage, Blair Walsh, the outrage after the fact, thinking they can do it, but or why did he miss that? He's made everything all year, Geary Anderson, So, I mean, fans, like you said, they all lined up and nobody made it. So, they forget that they're professionals, and sometimes they miss, but because they're in that job, they're expected to make it, and when they don't, there's outrage.
Well, they look at the idea of, because all of a sudden $20 million a year doesn't make you a human being. You're supposed to be superhuman, which you're superhuman in your skills, but you're not superhuman. I mean, you're not. It's not like you can take a gunshot when you make $20 million.
Yeah,
and those are the things I bring up. So despite all of the ratings that you get, how much abuse do you get on the thing as an official?
I mean, it's not as bad as it has been. I mean, you'll get occasionally, one or two comments a game or a coach saying something, but I'm pretty much even keel, so I kind of just let it go by, and just to keep doing my job.
Yeah. So what's some of your next things now that you're doing the officiating? What are some other things you've done in the sporting world? You done?
Yeah, I mean, you brought up my show earlier. I have
Yep.
a show with Dave Stevens, who he won 7 Emmys at ESPN in the editing department. Will Stein, he comes along with us. We've been to the Super Bowl, just about every major event in the last year and a half since I started. And we have guests on each week, in the sports world. So yeah, it's been fun.
Who usually does, out of you three, who usually does the booking?
I'm the booker usually. I mean, Dave brings some of his ESPN buddies here and there, but I've, over the years of just networking and knowing people, I still haven't got halfway through my Rolodex of people I can have on the show. So I just kind of look at that and go from there.
Do you have an actual Rolodex like the old school, or do you actually have your phone?
Well, now it's cell phone, but I should probably have old school one just for fun.
How many kids do you have, by the way?
I have 2.
Oh, you need to, how old are they?
They'll be 16 and 17. In
you
years.
need to bring the Rolodex out. Absolutely. And then what you need to do go get what you need to do is when you get that Rolodex, get yourself a room, get one of those old school you remember the turn to TV like that without the remote control. Yeah. It could be black and white even. Get one of those in there. Just turn everything 40 years old.
They would be shocked to ask, what is that on the table? I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I don't think they would know.
No. That's one of the gimmicks I would do once I would have kids. I mean, you got to realize that when I have kids, I'm gonna be in my 50s, plenty of the 50s, and I'm like, I'm gonna play every gimmick, even though I have a young mind. I'm gonna play every gimmick in the world. They're gonna call me Boomer to the end. I'm gonna embrace I'm gonna be the type that they'll say, like the kids will say, "Oh God, Dad, get a room." Always like, "Mom and Dad, get a room." And I'm gonna be like, "Well, this is the room. I mean, you want to watch?" It's like I'm not gonna be like Shake. It's gonna be like, "Well, how do you think you got here?"
That's great.
Just keep the ews going. That sort. But you got Geary. How long have you done Geary Stevens Stein?
We started last March, so just over a year now.
Oh, that's good. That's good. It's like, well, who's some of your favorite guests?
You're in Atlanta, so John Rocker. He's a fun guy. Coming up, Chip Carey.
Oh, nice.
Kyle Turley was another one that kind of speaks his mind. I like kind of people that do that, regardless of what it's about. But yeah, I mean, our time on the Radio Row at the Super Bowl, Earl Campbell, Tony Dorsett, Jake Plummer, all kinds of just cool people that I've been watching for years, and finally get to talk to and meet is a fun thing to experience.
Well, the thing is, John Rocker I've met. I met him over at a bar called Tavern at Phipps. Nice guy, and I'm like, but I'm telling you. I remember I brought the hand size. See, I bring up hand size because I'm a big guy with smaller hands. So I see this. I shook his hand. Oh, woof. It's just like, and it's like and then he's 2 inches bigger than me. He's 2 inches taller, but his shoulders is just what. It's just like, it amazes you. And then I've met Mark Jindrak, the old WCW wrestler.
Yeah.
Met him, and I'm like, these guys are, truthfully, they're only about 2 inches taller than me. I'm just saying. But the sheer bulk of these athletes, and these are athletes. These are athletes, and the sheer bulk and the sheer size of everything. It's just like, you really have to have enough alcohol in them to think that you have a chance.
Yeah, every time I take a picture with one, I look at it afterwards. I'm like, man, that guy was pretty big.
Oh yeah,
just towering over you. So. Yeah, they're just phenomenal athletes, and the size and, like you said, how big they are is impressive. Well,
I'm a little taller than Chipper. I would bet Chipper Jones, little taller. But I mean, I did a little thing where you hand around, get the smile. I'm sure he was thrilled at that. His face showed it, and everything like that. But I'm like this, and I'm taller than he is. I mean, these are athletes. They're just built, and it's like, and Mike Ken, I see him from time to time. I mean, that dude, he's probably 3 inches taller than I am. Mike Ken, he was from the Atlanta Falcons. He was the 17 years offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've met him quite a few times. Have a little conversation with him. Nice guy, but I'm like, that dude's much taller than I am. I mean, even at his age, you know.
Yeah, he's like I said, I'm only 5'10", so these guys are 6'5", 6'6". You know, they're looking down upon me all the time. So I'm sure you're a little taller, but
3.
But yeah, it still amazes me. You know, every time I meet different athletes, you know, like you said, this the size of how big they really are.
Well, the size part with me. Like I've met Cody Rhodes. I'm taller than Cody, obviously, but you see the shoulders. You see the shoulders. You see the way you can just tell they're doing push-ups 30 times a day. You can just see this, and it's like I'm much taller than he is. I've got a buddy of mine. I'm much taller. His name's Trevor Eon. He's a wrestler, and the pure. I mean, I've met him when he was 145 pounds, and now his pure. Let's put it this way, he's not in WWE or like AEW. He's wrestled a couple times in AEW, but if he had my height, he'd be there now and probably a champion.
Yeah.
So he's 5'10" himself, but I'm like, his pure width of his leg, it's like, oh my God. I'd have him.
You're in the gym 4 hours a day, you know, that's probably what happens.
Oh yeah, and it's like I'd have oh my God, and I mean I'd have him as a bouncer all day. I don't care it's not the height, because his lower center of gravity would be ridiculous. Especially for the speed he has. So it's like, yeah, I meet him myself at my height. I mean, I'm 6'3" myself. That's like at my height, and I'm impressed, because whether I'm taller or I'm shorter than they are, I'm impressed, because that's a different. An athlete's build in this day and age, especially, is different from a regular human being.
Oh yeah,
it's different. Like I said, Kevin Butler. I'm like, Kevin Butler, I see why he had so many tackles. I mean, I'm just saying, I couldn't fit in his ring. Imagine me trying to put on Richard Dent's.
Yeah, he was another big guy.
Oh yeah, no. So you're from Minnesota. You're a Vikings fan.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's hard to admit, because they give you like a little hope, and then they ruin it at the end of the year, and they crush your soul. So, but yeah, I'm sorry I have to say that I am.
No. So do you think? Where do you see Minnesota going?
In the draft?
Well, no, for the next season.
Oh, I mean, I think they'll take a little step back. I mean, they're not going to win 13 games. But you know, I mean, the Lions, they improved, so I think it's going to be between, if Aaron Rodgers finally gets traded to the Jets, I think it's going to be between the Lions and the Vikings, and you know, hopefully the Vikings can at least get in there. Their defense is just terrible. You know, they won 13 games and they were dead last defense. If they had a middle of the pack defense, they probably could have won a game or two. And that's what they need to do in the draft, which I'm going to be in Kansas City for the draft at the end of the month.
Well, I'll ask one more question, and it's going to be kind of wide range a little bit, because then we're going to go soon. But I want you to take a little bit of time. You've been in a war room, in a front office, all this stuff. We're talking about what you've got. I mean, you got to remember when they had the miracle throw.
Yeah,
the miracle throw. Yeah, that is miracle throw. They have all this kind of stuff. Now, what goes into a normal meeting in a front office to say we need Kirk Cousins, even though we got that win? What goes into the thing? Or we need a game changer. What goes into the thing? Who starts the conversation? Who does all this thing? I mean, is there hours and hours of haggling back and forth? Because you think about this, and it's like you think of the Bears, and they had all the opportunities. They went for Nick Foles. So what goes into this situation?
Well, how much money you have to spend goes number one. I mean, that's the first thing they look at. Two, they look at the system. You know, what kind of system is the coach or offensive coordinator, or defensive coordinator running, and how does that person fit? Like you're talking about your Bears free agency, they had over $100 million to spend, and they figured out, they probably had 20, 30 guys on their board that they wanted to bring in to fit Eberflus's system, either offense or defense. And, they probably got, quite a bit of the ones that they projected that they should go get. And they still have about $40 million to spend. So,
38.
if you have the money, it's a lot easier to make those decisions. When you don't, then it's you have to look at, if we re-sign this guy or if we release this guy, could we get somebody that comparables the same stats at least, moving forward. So it's a really hard question to answer, without, being here for hours. But if you have the money to spend, it's a lot easier to make those decisions. But usually you're going to check, team fit, system, cap. Those are the main ones you look at.
So how did it work out with, and I was just asking this, how did it work out with Derek Carr going to a team that has $60 million in the hole?
Yeah, I mean, you have until, I guess, at that time they had until March 17th, so they signed him the 10th to get that under the cap. They restructured a couple of contracts, released some guys, got under there before he signed that contract. So, yeah, he can't sign if a team's below the cap, they cannot sign the contract. You can agree to it, whatever you want, but they did some finagling and, got under and got the money for him. And they got rid of a couple more people and added Jamal Williams and some other parts. But, that's how it goes down to people like, oh, they don't have any money. Well, he didn't sign the deal yet. So that's how you have to look at it. You can agree to whatever you want, it's just before he signs the deal, there has to be the cap space there to go through with it.
Okay. And now this is I had a 3-parter on this. Is the final part of the question. You've played the game. I'm going to go out of fan thing for a second, knowing I could not stand Matt Nagy, and Getsy is still for right now. When I think of these, I think of over and over as watch it as a fan, then watch it. I try to watch as intent as I can. Just everything. It just looks like over and over, whether it was Nagy or Getsy or anything like this, it just feels like that every play they run, or the majority of the plays they run, someone's off. Someone's running into somebody else. There's always something getting messed up. He's mad. It's like a coach like Nagy's mad at Trubisky for running for the first down because he might have missed something, but it's still got yards. So what gets overall, is that more the players or is the coach's system just that messed up? Because I want to think these kind of things. I want to hear this, and I want to hear this more and more from somebody that knows.
Yeah, if you see a player running the route, I mean, it's on the player. I mean, the play comes in, obviously some of these playbooks are really extensive. Some of them are really broken down so people can understand them better. But if a coach gets mad because Trubisky, misses a wide open guy, has a second window to decide to throw, and then he decides to tuck it down and run, I mean, that happens. But now these days, they used to give, I don't know if they still do, but the Wonderlic test would kind of determine, if you were smart enough to learn a playbook, and if guys with low scores, they wouldn't if you look at the history, they wouldn't really pan out in the NFL because they could not get down the playbook. So that's what it comes down to. If you have a really hard playbook that's hard to understand, people are missing assignments and going the wrong way, maybe you need to kind of dial it back. It's adjustments in the NFL. Every year you got to adjust, and if you don't, that's what happens. You finish 3-13, So hopefully the Bears, if they have an issues with, or any other team with those kind of things, that they would make adjustments to help with that. But you can't fault a player if he's got his split second to throw a ball and decides to run, and if he gets first down, I don't see what the problem is. But.
Well, those are the things that I was trying. That's part of our kind of the debate that we get all the time, because there was the people that didn't like Trubisky, which is part of it's fine, but that's part of the issue with the whole thing with Fields. They're giving Fields all kinds of stretch because he gets fantasy numbers, but he's won 2 games in a row one time. And there's been a lot of mistakes in his game that you get a lot of. And I feel like where my issue is like there's a rock star thing that they look for more than winning.
Yeah, I mean, over time, the Fields is gonna, that's just gonna be an issue. The reason why he's getting away with it because when he runs for 60 yards. So that's as of right now, that can only work so long before it's gonna be like, all right, now you're just missing the wide open guys, you're missing reads, and when they decide that that's what it is, and there's no way around it, then that's when they make the changes. So. Speaking of the Bears, one last thing before we go. I mean, do I feel Fields is a long-term quarterback? I don't think so. I mean, he can run the ball, but they need somebody in there that can, do both. And if you can get that, in the next year or two, or figure out, but that fifth-year option's coming up, so we'll see what happens if they exercise that. If they don't, then that they're probably going to look to go in another direction.
Well, me, Troy, with the fifth year, what I've explained. I'll explain it to the people that are watching right now. I hate fifth-year options because it feels like the sales giant who got number one in everything in his whatever he was selling and gets every award at the year-end deal, gets every award at the year-end party, gets all that stuff. Then he struggles for 4 months and he's let go. That's what the fifth-year option feels like because it just feels like, oh, okay, we're paying you now. We get this thing. But you bomb. We don't have to pay you anymore. Hello. How you doing? What's up, Mystical? But no, that's what that is. That's where my deal is. That's what I hate with fifth-year options is because if someone can struggle at any time and people don't have patience anymore, bye. It's like,
and that's usually what it is. It's like, okay, we're giving you one last chance to figure it out, or we're giving us one more year to think if, do we want to keep you? So you see a lot of guys, I mean, they usually do really well or really, really poorly. And the decision is really made on that self based on performance. See the Raiders last year, they declined it on Josh Jacobs. And then this last year, he had a big season. So they re-signed him. And then it worked the other way where Daniel Jones, same thing, Geary was out for years, I still don't think he's the answer, but
he's not the answer.
He had a good season and they rewarded him with $45 million, which is.
Well, no, if you can bet on yourself and get that, I'd rather have that and say, well, let's go somewhere else. But no, Fields is just an enigmatic problem. He's just the problem of about 17 years. First replacing Kyle Orton with Rex Grossman, who had the prettier ball, but way more mistakes. Which, if you have Orton in that Super Bowl, he's not going to do anything to make mistakes. They'll just run the ball. And they would have the same amount of passing yards. And there would have been, and the Bears probably win that game. That's number one. Yeah. Then Thomas Jones they get rid of because they wanted the fans blabbed about Cedric Benson. Oh, he's so great, you can't tackle him. And then he'd go down with one sneeze. And then meanwhile, Thomas Jones is awesome. Then Orton comes back. Orton comes back again. Then they want the prettier, so you get Cutler Costamarians because he wanted someone easier on somebody. He wanted these, and it just goes on and on and on. Booing Trubisky at the thing, at the Wrigley Field, on, and it's like they want prettier over effective, and they were winning, and that's where my problems lie. Is like it feels like we are so much in the fantasy world right now that they don't care about the winning.
Yeah, a lot of teams have the issue. They just have a revolving door back there, and sometimes plain and simple is effective. Like the Vikings, they fans, I hear every year, oh, Kirk Cousins. Well, he's manageable. Does he not in the big games? I mean, yeah, his record's not the greatest, but he's consistent. Every year he just gives you the same numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to go, pay somebody else $45 million and you might not get the same thing? Probably not. So it's just one of those deals that sometimes consistency and stuff and being, like that is, really not pretty, but it works.
Well, see, when I bring up Mitch, it's just that's part of the anger. Is he a Hall of Famer? No, not at all. I mean, serviceable quarterback, absolutely. But something? It was part of a system that was winning ball games most weeks. It was. Yeah. Guess what? It was about 9 over 500 when he was here. And it's like right now we're 15 under, 5-20 with him there. It's 9 games. It's like 9 and whatever as a total. And it's like, do you have an idea? And then I love Justin Fields as a person. I love him as a gamer. He's got guts. He wants to win badly. But are they going to give it to him? And is he going to be finding it somewhere else?
That's the, I guess, $1 million question, right?
Yeah.
I hope he figures it out all the way around, not just, using his legs every time when he gets in trouble, actually, sitting back there and finding the open receivers. And, this year they got a couple in the, in free agency, and they'll go with the trade for DJ Moore, We'll see what happens.
Well, see, he's a star, and that's the thing. He's got star quality. If he's got a Hollywood star quality type thing, he just, that kind of guy goes into the room. They come in. It's that guy that comes in the room and he just brings a magnetism. He has it. So that's what you would hope and wish, that he can hope that he figures it out, and he can be the guy that opens the new dome that's going to come into Arlington Park. You'd want that, but you also don't want him to wait for him to get that improved before you have a chance to win.
Exactly.
Well, Troy, it's been awesome. And it's like, and I was like, it's one of those things where I love to have a conversation, and the day goes so quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great time. I can't believe it was already an hour, but I appreciate you having me on tonight.
Well, I'm going to say that, and I appreciate it. Hey, and Denzel, come on for a second. I want to give you a little bit of hell. Hey, Denzel, you're the one. Everybody, you hear me all the time. I keep saying, if it's just the two of us, everybody say, oh, it's 25, 30 minutes. I keep saying to you guys, I can do an hour. Hey, dude, your ear.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, but
sorry, I muted the mic because I was watching something. But yeah, like I knew this. That's why I sat here. Like I'm waiting on Monday Night Raw to come on, and I'm just listening. Troy, great show, brother. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you coming on, man. Geary and Stein, Stevens, y'all doing big things, man. So appreciate you coming on. But Jake, I knew this, man. I knew it. Whatever time you say, add 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Jacob Christner has a 10-minute rule.
Yeah, I can, because I have a thing that I know I can be a conversationalist. I know. See, my thing is I love to listen and get the answer, but I love a conversation. I love to talk. So that's all. It's the one thing my dad could never get me to stop, and I listen to him all the time. He'd always say, "Quit rattling. You quit all this stuff." Sorry, Dad. My money is my mouth. My mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how we run our mouths when we were younger, and it was about nonsense. And it's like, you know what? If you would actually grow up and make it like what you say makes sense, now you can make a lot of money doing what you do.
That's the truth. Troy, thank you for coming on, and good luck to you with the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And it's like, and we're going to have fun. And this is Punditviews. Next week's going to be the format we talked about. Talk about it more on the Facebook and that this week. It's going to be called Cap Heaven or Cap Hell. We're going to give a preview of it. Have a good night.